We're back.
We're back. What's happening, Jason?
Well, man, just the rent, as they say, but all is good. What about yourself?
Oh, all is good. I mean, it's been a week of a week. So I'm kind of excited. I've been looking forward to this because, I think always having more folks chiming in on our Valiant passion is always a good thing. So today we're here to welcome Mr. Brian Wells himself, who seems to be frozen. Is he frozen just on my side or your side too?
No, it's not a Zoom trick, I think he really is frozen.
Well, at least he's staying hydrated because I feel like he has his water. All right, let me see. I see Brian again. Man, Brian, there's two of you. Which one do we keep? This is awesome. Last night on Cap Live, did you see that? When the things are just going wonky? I feel like we're in the multiverse. It just continued into our stream today.
I know, it was crazy. I thought I was just going to have to cut it off because it was driving me insane.
It was nuts. Did they ever figure out what happened?
Yeah, it was in Maureen's, something with her internet. So when he kicked her out, it fixed it. So she got whatever was wrong with hers, and it got fixed. So,
Brian's going through the kind of multiverse tunnels. So today's agenda is very simple. For anyone who's joining us right now, first of all, thank you. We're streaming a little bit earlier. It's totally my fault. I have another meeting at like 5 o'clock, which I just had a chance to postpone. So I have to have a hard out about 1 hour from now. So the guys were gracious enough to join early. And so we're going to get started early. Feel free to watch the replay, but this is our Valiant TLDR episode 2 featuring Mr. Brian Wells himself. He'll get here one day. He's just traveling through a different route. But, so before Brian gets on, Jason, why don't you give a little intro of Brian, like how you know him?
So there he is.
We're just going to talk about you, Brian, just to give the viewers some insight as to your background, where you're from, but maybe you could do that on Jason's behalf.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. I keep getting kicked out for some reason. I don't know. It's California, which is California. So, intro for me. Let's see. I'm someone who bought Magnus 1 right off the rack when it came out. So I couldn't find another issue until issue 4 came out for some reason, but I was bit by the Valiant bug pretty much immediately. I was about 15 years old when I first got introduced. And so, okay, you guys can still hear me good. So the Valiant just kind of stuck with me. The stories were something special compared to what was on the shelves at the time. And so it was just something different that I loved. And it brought me such joy. And then I found out there were more people like me, especially on ValiantFans.com, which is celebrating its 20th year right now, and made a lot of friends. And just the journey lives on, and we've gone through a lot of dark days and a lot of dark times, but we still persevere. The stories don't go away. They're always there for us.
I mean, I feel bad because I missed that era of like the Valiant fans and the forums that I hear a lot from Jason. But it sounds like, Brian, you were part of the whole thing as well. Because by the time I came back around on comic art and even just collecting comics in general, I felt like, it was going through a bit of a rough patch. And so there just wasn't as much engagement anymore until I started finding guys like Jason who also love Valiant art, because we'll be like bidding on the same stuff together and we'll discover, oh, you got that? Oh, you got that? And then that's kind of how we started talking. And that's kind of, for me, reinvigorated the love of Valiant again. So for you, was that kind of the case early on where you found guys like Jason, you found other folks? I mean, and then the other thing is, where the heck did you get that Harada shirt? I want one.
I have to thank Joshua Dysart for the shirt. He had a couple of them made, and luckily had one in my size. So at Comic-Con one year when he was a guest on my Valiant fans panel that I did for 18 years. He gave me this shirt and was like, wear it on special occasions. And so this is probably the first time I've worn it in about 4 years. So I'm wearing it for a special occasion.
Nice. So, I mean, this show, you know, Jason and I both kind of have our own streaming action going on. But one thing, the reason why we brought this together is because we felt like there was enough friends within our comic art collecting circles that has asked us about, you know, where to start or how to get into Valiant for us to actually start the show. I think one, just to share our own personal stories and then hear from personal stories from like yourselves. And then second on our agenda is to do like one-on-ones. Like, let's talk about good places where people can get into Valiant and which books they should be reading. And the last thing is sharing our latest pickups. So that's pretty much the agenda for today. Now, so you gave us a little kind of brief intro of yourself personally, but it looks like you also work in the comic book space, correct? And so I would love to kind of hear more about your activities there, and then your kind of Valiant origin story, even like for you to like, how did you go from picking up Magnus #1 to like hosting 18 years of Valiant fan panels? I mean, Jason, was there any other thoughts of why you thought Brian would be a good first guest for us?
Well, when I first met Brian, as it were, online on YouTube, and found out that he was a big Valiant fan, I mean, his wealth of knowledge, obviously from years. I mean, he's been on the forums longer than I have. So long, in fact, that I had to rag him a little bit not too long ago.
I knew this was coming.
About his MySpace page. I
changed that.
That still exists.
It was on his thing, you know, for his MySpace. I was like, do we still have that? You know, is that still a thing? You know, but seriously, I think Brian actually just recently had a birthday. I noticed a lot of people on the Valiant fans forum
happy
wishing you happy birthday and all that kind of stuff.
My screen name over on there is Better Than Ezra, which is my favorite rock band. It's my favorite band. And okay, good. I didn't go away. So
you're here. I
want
to show this
over there in the forums.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
So it's still very active, huh? It's still very active.
It's active, but it's nothing like it used to be.
Yeah, you could go on like new post and like see the most recent activity and stuff like that. I've actually picked up some early Solar pages not too long ago. I've met some other Valiant folks and been able to connect with them outside of the forums, which has been great. I'm trying to remember if that's the first interaction I had with Dan Moeller was on the forums, or if it was on CAF or not. But yeah, I mean,
Dan Moeller's that guy for me, because we've known each other. We're the same exact age, the same birthday. He lives in Nebraska, and I knew him before there were even like very early, like 2002, 2003. I mean, me and him have been friends for that long, and he's really my brother from another mother, because we both worked at Sam Goody's growing up and in our teen and 20s, and there's a weird connection between me and him that is just a little odd, and he knows that. He'll see this on the rewind and be like, "Oh man, he just outed me." So.
Well, you know, the interesting thing, Brian, and maybe you can speak to this, and this is what I've shared with Carl, who's not as familiar with the VE1 stuff, like, so the Dinesh era forward, you know, and I told him, you know, one of the things that when I got back into collecting comics that kind of gravitated me back, not only to those old stories, but was the job that overall Dinesh and Josh Dysart and Robert Vendetti and all those guys were able to do, just like, because usually when you relaunch a universe, like, it's hard to make lightning strike twice in the same spot. And so to be able to do what they did without like the three mainstays of Turok and Magnus and Solar, I think was great. And so Carl's not as familiar with that. So, maybe do you want to speak to any of those relationships that you have with those guys or stories from that era?
Sure. When I decided I wanted to do a fan panel at Comic-Con in San Diego, it was 2005, and it was a lot of work. My goal on this was just to give Valiant kind of its day in the sun again, because Valiant hadn't published in about 4 years. They'd already gone through their bankruptcy with Acclaim, and they actually had their bankruptcy sale just about the year before that, in 2004, that ended up having someone else besides Dinesh's group buy it. And then they found out there was going to be a legal battle with the copyrights and stuff. So they decided to bow out and allow Dinesh to swoop in and purchase those characters. And there was a 3-year legal battle with that before they could have everything in the clear. But that was all accumulated into that time in 2005 when I put together this fan panel. And we all met, a lot of us from the Valiant Fans Board, including the guy who created it, Greg Hollins and Dinesh. And there was about 15 of us from the boards that all accumulated to San Diego that year. And we made this fan panel happen. And we had about 15 to 20 Valiant creators from the past show up, and everyone from Sean Chen to Jim Calafieri to Rodney Ramos, and it was a huge accumulation of all these guys. And I didn't want to just leave out some of the guys that came on when Fabian took over as president in '97. So we had guys that were there from that time too, because to me, Valiant was always going to be Valiant. It didn't matter if it was VH2, as we called it, or V1. So when Dinesh showed up there at Comic-Con that year, that was the first time I met him. And we became fast friends.
What year was this, Brian, when Dinesh first showed up?
That was 2005.
So
2005.
So they acquired it in 2002, and they had 3 years of legal before they were able to launch.
Well, they went into bankruptcy, and it took a while for, I think it was 2003, late 2003, when the auction actually happened. And so they were just sifting through everything by the time 2005 was still going on, because it was, 7 years until they published anything yet. So it was a while, a lot. I mean, we know that they hired Jim Shooter as editor-in-chief during the very beginning, and that didn't work out very well, did it? So there was a lot of things going on that we don't really know about. And we may never know about it in its entirety.
Well, it's part of our mission now, guys, to find out what the heck happened. Get the inside track.
So Brian, I think this might be a good segue to talk about the Valiant Sneak Peek book. You talked about the rights. Now, this book was done by the art was done by Jay Lee. Brian got the first one signed. At least that's what he said. Allegedly, as they say.
Actually, I'm the first one that found the book, period.
So I've got a copy. I got mine signed by Jay. And he said it's been a long time since I've seen one of these. I thought about getting him to sign it saying mine was better than Brian, but I decided not to.
Mine will always say first signed copy, though.
That's true. This is true. Yeah. So go ahead and for the listeners and watchers out there, as well as Carl,
what is this? What is a sneak peek book?
Okay, so at Comic-Con that year, there it is. This was 2 years later at my third panel. This all of a sudden showed up on the floor of San Diego Comic-Con. I'm the one that found it. I'm the one that purchased it. And because I purchased it, all of a sudden, money changed hands for this thing. And it caused a creative, they can now do something legally about it, Dinesh and his team. So I remember after I purchased it and I had it in my hands, I was texting Dinesh pictures of it. And I said, I don't care what you're doing. You need to get here to the show right now. And he just sent me a text and said, "Oh shit," and then came right to the show. So this is what started that right there.
Oh, 07.
It's an interesting piece of history for sure. There's only 100 of them, allegedly, but it was all done by Jay Lee. We know that, and it was done by the guy who owns Dynamite Comics at the time. So I think
Nick
it's still
Perucci?
him. Yes, it was Nick Perucci who was the head. He was the mastermind behind this.
Wait, why did he make this?
He made this because he found a loophole and a possibility to use the copyright names, but not the likeness of the characters. And so by putting this out and having it being sold publicly, it all of a sudden he could go in front of a judge or the property or like Congress thing where they do the copyrights and stuff and say, this was sold, somebody's bought it, and now we can, that was a way for them to ignite the debate on getting the names of the books and the characters, not the likeness of the characters. So that's why he did it.
So the images, you saw one of the images on there. You saw one of the images on there, but all the characters that we know and love are in there, and they don't look nothing like what we know them to look like.
Yep.
And then the other fun thing about it is you notice how they spelled peak.
Peak, yeah, P-E-E-K, right?
So there are
intelligent editing there.
Well, and supposedly, like Brian said, there's only 100 of them out there, but they're very easily to be, replicated. What do you do?
Yeah.
I've seen one counterfeit, and they actually spell peak right, so it's like, okay, kind of a dig.
That one's actually more rare and worth a little bit more.
Maybe so.
That's stupid. Why would you do that?
It was a bad idea.
See what you did there.
All right. So what happened from there? So Brian, obviously that sold. Was there an agenda on the Dynamite side? I know because I think Nick ended up relaunching like Turok, and I don't know if he did Solar and whatnot. But
but that was much later after the Dark Horse Dark Key stuff came out. So when Dinesh and Jason Kalari, who are the two that were the main people doing, and then Jason was kind of no longer in the picture by the time 2013 or 14 happened. They had Magnus, Solar, Turok with this new universe, the 2012 version that we know of. They had all those characters. Yes. They had an agreement already in place. And then that is what Jim Shooter did by stabbing them in the back. And he took those characters and went to Dark Horse. So the Dark Key stuff, which was not very good, by the way, happened. And they had to readjust their universe to have not those characters in it. And honestly, I kind of think that the universe is not better, because you always want to have Turok and Magnus and Solar if you can, but there's some great stuff that came out of those early runs in 2012 and 2013, and they didn't need those characters then. So I kind of look at it as it was meant to be that way.
Got it. Because as soon as I came back, I remember seeing like some of the Ninjak books that came out through, I'm guessing at the time, Dinesh's Valiant. But I totally missed this whole drama of like, Turok and Solar and Magnus being relaunched at Dark Horse. So
I kind of think that Nick Bellucci was kind of hoping for a settlement in this. I think he was looking at not really knowing that it was going to be a long shot to get these characters copyrights in terms of the name. It was going to be a long shot no matter what. But I think there was some hope that maybe this could turn into something where maybe they could do a crossover with something or something like that. And it didn't work out that way for him.
Interesting. Well, I guess Jim Shooter, as much as he got a lot of the credit, maybe you know he 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 wasn't as able to kind of restart stuff as much as he wanted to. I think seeming like there was other team members involved. Maybe that didn't get the credit as they should have deserved, since he
I mean,
wasn't able to relaunch over and over again.
Jason, you may agree with this or not, but to me, Jim Shooter hasn't written anything really worth a damn in 25 years, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I mean,
So I talked to Jim Shooter a year or so ago about this, and his excuse for the Dark Horse stuff not kind of panning out was that he didn't have a good artist on it. And so, of course, and then the writer's going to say this is the artist's problem. The artist is going to say it's the writer problem. But I just think that,
of course,
and that was kind of the magic. Things have to change a little bit over time. And so, like, if you go back and you just try to recreate the exact magic, the formula doesn't work the same. And so I think that's what Dinesh and the new stuff was able to capture, was able to say, hey, we're going to take the basis of these characters. And as I mentioned last week, they merged some of the VH2 stuff, like with Bloodshot in particular, or even the Dead Side stuff with Shadow Man, merged it all in together and came up with something, which was fantastic. And it was more modern, because I've read old stories before. I've went back and reread my Valiant stuff, the later stuff, but like the early stuff still held up. Like hardcore still held up for me.
Yeah, it does.
But it normally doesn't do that, right? If we go back and read some of our stuff from childhood, we go, it's not as great as I remembered it to be. But so you got to be able to change some of that stuff to modernize it.
I agree with you. My favorite book at that time was Shadow Man, and
Me too, Shadow Man. Wait, are you talking about Shadow Man, the old one or the new one?
The old one.
Me too. I'm into the old one.
When Bob Hall took over the book, and I think the key to that book being my favorite was, of all the books that were coming out monthly, Shadow Man did not go twice a month like a lot of the titles did, which suffered so bad with quality. Bob Hall was allowed to keep it monthly, and I think that's what kept the stories consistent, and his art with Tom Ryder inking him was outstanding all the way to the end. And I'll hold up his bloodletting story that he did in issues 10, 11, and 12 on a high pedestal. I think that story alone is worth its price in gold for a Shadow Man story. It's so good.
Yeah, they were amazing. Those were some of my favorites. I always go back to Shadow Man probably being my number 2 after Archer and Armstrong. But as an individual character, Shadow Man's my favorite as well. So do you remember how that story wrapped up, or did they ever wrap it up nicely, or did it just kind of fade off? Because I do remember it, all the early books. I probably read up to I don't know, I'm thinking like 21 or 22, but I didn't continue. Okay. But I remember those 20 issues was very there's a lot of individual stories, which I liked. Whereas they're like one-offs, where there'll be this killer who's wearing masks, this drama killer, and then he goes and hunts them and finds them, and that's it. It's a wrap and it's a story, and I love that. Right? It's very satisfying. Did they ever create a larger arc that ended up closing out at the end?
No, it was left for interpretation. The last issue was, which was issue 43, I think it is. I can't remember exactly the number off the top of my head now, but Bob Hall ended the book with Jack jumping off the building, and we never saw the outcome of that. So, and that's what made the cover too. The cover was basically him falling down off the building. So that's it.
Yep.
Ooh, that's the last one, huh?
Yeah, it's 43.
Yes, 43.
Nice. So, it was already.
Brian, for some reason you sound like you're underwater. I don't know if there's something with their mic or something, but for some reason you sound like you're underwater. Is it just me or Jason you're hearing that?
No, I think it just started doing it that.
Yeah, just started. What's up, Kenneth, Mr. Collector 123, Marcus? What's up, fellas? Thanks for tuning in. And Diego as well.
Mic on and then shut it off.
Okay.
All right, is that any better? No.
No, it's still getting weird underwater.
Okay.
All good. We could just be
You can see it's
we could blame it on
I
Shadow Man swimming through the underwater tunnel into the Unity world.
always blame it on Nettie. So Nettie's the one who did it. Well, let me take these out, and I'll just use the microphone on the Chromebook and see
Okay.
what happens.
Okay.
Yeah, that should work.
Okay, so
Well, perfect. It's much
Is that-
better.
okay,
Way better.
awesome. All right,
All
great.
right. So continue.
So-
So, you know, after that, yeah, keep going. I think we'd love to continue your story.
Okay, so the book, the character is Jack. Jack Bombface was, you know, jumped off the building. We all know he's supposed to die in 1999, as it was foretold in Rise Zero. And I was so pissed off after reading this book. So pissed off. I immediately wrote a letter to Madeline Robbins, who was the editor at the time. And yes, I even remember, I didn't look that up. I remember. Wrote a letter. I was mad. I was pissed off. It was how could you end the book this way? Now, granted, I wrote a letter for the Magnus finale either, but I didn't love Magnus as I loved Shadow Man. I mean, Magnus was just, it was a lot of problems ending that book anyway. I mean, the writing was not consistent. It wasn't very good as it ended, but Shadow Man was different. And Madeline loved my letter so much, she forwarded it to Bob Hall, who was traveling Europe at the time. And he wrote me back personally, which was weird. I get this letter in the mail, and all of a sudden me and him became friends, pen pals. And he had me write a few other letters for when he was doing Armed and Dangerous, a black and white crime book that came out that Acclaim published later after they were done with some superhero stuff. And I got a letter printed in issue 3 of that book of Armed and Dangerous. And so that was pretty cool. And then me and him have stayed in touch here and there. And I have the letter here. I'll show it to you later when we have our little show off, but just a great guy. And it was always unfortunate that that's what happened to Jack. I always interpreted that he just hit the concrete and went splat, but you know, it wasn't 1999 at the time. So
Why did he jump off the building? Was he bleeding in the eyes or something and doing the run, or was he just randomly jumping off the building?
no, he was not. That was something that was a long time ago that had nothing to do with this. He just, at the time that I remember, he was having internal struggles with everything and decided to. He knew he was supposed to die in 1999, so this was him placing fate in the hands of whoever. And so, was he going to die when he leaped off the building? We don't know. He didn't know. He took that as a blind, you know, to me, it was a leap of faith. And so that's kind of, we were left to interpret it the way we left to interpret it, which sucked because it pissed me off.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's a kind of a shitty way to go. And that's why they brought another version of him on VH2 then, right? Because they couldn't kind of revive they couldn't continue that story because that was kind of a closing point. Okay, that makes sense.
Well, they did show Jack Bonface dead in the first issue on a gurney. I know because I have an unpublished page of that was rejected by Fabian that Ashley Wood drew, and I'll show that later. But it's my wife calls it the penis page because
boner and
so.
It's a good way to go, I guess.
It's one of my favorite pieces I own, and it's unfortunate that it's known as the penis page, but you know, it is what it is.
Oh, wow. We'll have to see why.
Learning lots of stuff, aren't we?
Yeah.
You will see why.
Well, you know, it being known as that. Do you hang any of your art in your house? You got your little man cave or anywhere that your wife lets you hang up stuff?
I have, but because the economy the way it is and everything like that, all of my kids at some point have moved back home. So all those rooms that were a man cave are now a bedroom again. So I don't have a place to actually hang artwork in the house right now. So it's on hold. There's a lot of stuff that is in frames, but aren't up and going and on the walls yet. So it's unfortunate, but it's just the reality of everything right now.
So aside from the penis page, what would you say was like your most, like if you everybody, like family was all safe, house is on fire, you can run in and grab one page. Like, what's the one page?
Well, it's not the penis page.
I've really got to see why
it's actually right here.
Page. Oh, that's easy. It's right behind you. Boom.
Yeah. So hopefully it's not too glary, but this is Harbinger 10.
Up as well. Give me 1 second. Let me put you in the big.
All right. So this is Harbinger 10. And if you notice, that's the other side right here. That's the first appearance of hardcore in a panel.
Nice.
So it's basically the cover in one panel, because that's what the cover kind of looked like. It's a David Lapham page, obviously. But I just love this page, and Dinesh just tried to get it from my dead hands for a while, and I would not let him have it. So.
Yeah, you know, that was one of the other great things about the Valiant Comics was that you saw that cover, and some form or another that was going to be in those pages somewhere.
They do that a lot. I didn't know that. It's so interesting. It's so interesting.
I think that was a Bob Layton house style kind of mandate with the writers and the artists and stuff, that they wanted that association. So that always kind of transpired for the most part. There were times that it didn't, but you do see it more often than not.
Yeah.
But that would be my piece.
They had a perfect storm with, like, you know, Jim Shooter, Bob Lane, all those guys. It was
Barry Windsor Smith.
Yep. They all kind of complement each other well with something to prove, and the timing was right. You know, there was a consumption base, so I was willing to give them a chance and really connect to the material. And so what happened in those 18 years? So during the 18 years of fan panels, like, did it ever feel like the conversations were repetitive, or was there enough material for you guys to keep engaging?
To start, it felt like there was a lot of repetition. And it depended on who agreed to come to the panel and actually be a guest. Had Bernard Chang, had Charles Yoakum. Okay, so the second year that we did it, all of my guests forgot the panel, except an anchor.
What?
Yeah. Because the one thing at Comic-Con in San Diego that you have to remember is time is, like Unity, absolute. When you're there at a show like that, you're not paying attention to your watch and things like that. The day goes by so fast. That's true. I'm stressed out like crazy because here I have, 40, 50 people in this panel room, this smaller panel room, and I have one inker there. And it's an inker that's only done about 25 books, and they were all like VH2 books, not V1 books. It was Charles Yoakum. So Charles Yoakum and myself are on the front of we're there at the panel, and we're answering questions from people in the crowd. That's what it ended up turning into, which was entertaining. But you get the stupid questions like, I apologize if you're the one that was in the crowd and asked this question, but would it have been cool if we got to finish Unity 2000? And I'm like, no, because I read the scripts and they sucked. So I'm glad it ended at 3 and they didn't get the other issues out because it was a pile of garbage.
Oh, man. So that panel was a bit of a low point. So what would be the opposite of that? Was there a high point panel where you're like, holy shit?
Yes, there was. This was after 2012, obviously. The books were out, and I had what we called Murderer's Row. I had Joshua Dysart, Robert Menditti, Jeff Lemire, and Matt Kent, all on the panel.
Of course, Marcus.
It was probably Marcus that did it.
It was probably Marcus, but Marcus is too busy trying to get Dinesh drunk and get into his phone. So that's what I hear. So that was the best. That was the best panel I think that we had in terms of writers, and just the fact that Jeff Lemire would even entertain going on a little Valiant fan panel was hilarious to me. But he was so gracious and nice, and I mean, he made Bloodshot my favorite book for a long time. With Reborn, and just that and the art it was just unbelievable. Miko knocked it out of the park with that book. So
I did read that one. That was really good, actually. That was
So
actually
good.
one of the ones I picked up a trade for, and really enjoyed.
Yeah, and if you really want to jump, to me, the best thing to jump into is that right there is the Valiant. If you haven't read anything, if you haven't read anything from the 2012 stuff, read the Valiant. It's a great introduction to some characters that you may not be familiar with, like Kay and Eternal Warrior and Archer and Armstrong, and obviously Bloodshot. But the story is really good. It holds up. It's such a great book, and it's a fun read that holds up, and it's outstanding. And they printed a lot of those comparatively to what they were doing, but it's one that I have bought many trades and have handed them out to people at shows and stuff. It's that good.
Wow, lucky. Okay, I'll have to jump into it. I mean, I haven't read that yet, but yeah.
Paulo Rivera did the art.
So good.
Okay. Yep. I've got several art pages from this book, and I'm eyeing some more. I mean, yeah, the story's kind of closed off, to Brian's point, meaning that you don't have to know an awful lot of lore to not be able to just enjoy the story.
Yeah. It's a chance to dive in without years and years of backstory and baggage that a lot of comic book readers always complain about. I can't start reading Spider-Man because there's 50 years of history and 60 years of history. Well, you don't have to with this. It's something that is easy to read and a lot of fun, and it's just a damn good read.
It's free on ValiantEntertainment.com as well, so feel free to take a read.
Yeah, and those are some fantastic pages.
Yeah, they're great.
I can't wait to see what pages you're going to get from this, Jason. That's going to be awesome.
Well, there's one, the scene where Kay is running, from the big bad, right? And so and then Bloodshot, she runs into Bloodshot, and they're standing there on that full splash.
Yes.
Yeah, this one?
No,
No.
So, and so I've got some where Ninjak and the Eternal Warrior are fighting him. But yeah, the one where she runs up into Bloodshot. And then there's a great scene because, Bloodshot doesn't have his memories, right? And so he goes to tweak with Bloodshot's brain to like make him have all these fears like he had done Ninjak. And he goes, wait a minute, there's nothing there. He goes, hard to mess with something like that, huh? And just blows his brains out. Bloodshot does.
Yep.
I gotta dive into that. But we have since we're like halfway through the show, one of the big parts about this show is for us to share our latest pickups. And I know we picked up a few things, and obviously, Brian, with your journey, I think you introducing the Valiants as like an entry point, I think would be a good one. So we'll definitely recommend this to everybody, folks. Make sure you tune into the Valiant. Go into ValiantEntertainment.com and read it for free. But in the meantime, we're gonna jump into our show and tell segment. Who wants to go first?
Should the guest of honor go first, or should
do it.
I think guest of honor should go first. So
okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna share. So I'm not gonna really share any graded stuff because I just got off work and threw everything together as quick. I got the art out last night, but I just want to share a couple pieces. I'm a big Louis LaRosa fan, and so this is a nice little Ninjak piece that
nice
I got from him. I saw this and was like, yeah, I gotta have that.
Where's this from? Is this a published piece?
No, this is not a published piece. This was one that he he's had a lot of back problems, and he was a school teacher that they kind of took him out of teaching and made him a comic book artist. Because when he was doing Punisher for Marvel, his editor was Warren Simons, and Simons always treats his creators great. And so when Simons went to him and was like, "Hey, come try out working for Valiant," he quit his job and started, drawing full time. And so this was at a time when his back was hurt and he needed some money, and so he was doing some sketches and stuff, and I was able to snag that from him, which was very cool. It's one of my favorite pieces. So speaking of Ashley Wood, this is an Ashley Wood Shadow Man sketch.
Nice. That's cool.
That he did for me. I know I'm kind of new at showing this stuff on the screen. So, but this was done at Comic-Con back in the early 2000s. And he just happened to be there, and I was like, "Can you do me a Shadow Man?" He's all, "Oh, what?" And he was very gracious and did this Shadow Man for me, and I'm eternally grateful, because it's not something you see. You don't see a lot of Ashley Wood Shadow Man stuff out there. So, I mean, he only did 4 issues. And then there's Deadside, but Deadside was they lost Deadside the last issue forever. They screwed that over. So another one of my favorite pieces is this cover.
Nice.
For Exo Manowar. This was a Jim Calafiore piece. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I gotta have that, because it's the throwback VH1 costume, his suit of armor. Yeah. And so as soon as this was available, swooped in and picked that up.
Did Calafiore work on anything on VH2 as well, or was he only a VH1 guy?
Who?
Later VH1 Calafiore? Jim?
No, he worked on VH2. He did Armorines, the 4-issue miniseries. The reason I know that is because I own more pages from that than anybody in this world. So nice. You have to remember, in 2003, before the art world woke up and decided that, art's worth some money, I was able to buy, and this is gonna piss a lot of people off. I asked Jim Calafiore for a list of the art he had left, and he sent me a list. It was about 85 pages and a couple covers and stuff. And I said, "How much for everything?" And I paid less than $1,000 for all of it. So oh my God. It was 2003. Came out to like $7 a page. It was ridiculous. And so,
wow. Oh my gosh.
It was not rough for me to write that check. I'll tell you.
He thought he was selling you toilet paper. I think he got something mixed up.
So this here is a Tony Fleece from My Little Pony fame and Stray Dogs. He was doing a show in Sacramento, and I said, "Have you ever drawn Ninjak before?" He goes, "No." I said, "All right, I want you to do a VH1 version of Ninjak, but just make it badass. No ponies, no dogs in it. Just." And so he went crazy and got a little Quesada costume there, and it came out really beautiful for a piece. So that's one of my favorite new pieces that I have.
Quesada is one of my personal favorites for sure. Like from Ninjak to Azrael, his costume designs are awesome. They're always wearing these giant gauntlets, like snow mittens, the swords or the fire blades. Yeah.
Okay, so here it is. Here's the Shadow Man penis page that I was talking about.
Okay, got it.
This was an Ashley Wood piece, page 2. And this was never published, obviously, but it's the page that I'm most famous for on ValiantFans.com. So if you go and find my my username, it says Better Than Ezra, and then on the top of that it says, "Can I show you a Shadow Man page?"
Shadow Wang.
Shadow Wang, that is right. Thank you, Marcus, for your insight and your hilariousness. But very cool piece. I'll never sell this thing. This is one that unpublished. I was like, I have to own this page. So
how did you find that? Did you hunt it down, or was it?
He had it the same year that he did the sketch for me at San Diego. He had that in a portfolio, and I bought that, and I bought the Valiant Voyeur original art from him. Valiant Voyeur was a little thing that you like if you ever went to
the little
Great America, and you got a little picture, and they put it in this little view thing that you looked up in the sun, and you saw this picture that was in it. And Valiant did that for all the characters, and you had to do something cool to qualify to get it. And it was pretty cool. But I own the original art to the Shadow Man one, and it was a variation of it, so it wasn't actually the published one, but it was what Ashley did for it. The real one I want is the Solar one that George Perez did. It's the only piece that George Perez ever had published, not published, but in a Valiant Voyeur for Solar, and that would be pretty badass. I don't know who owns it, but I'm jealous, and you can go to hell.
I didn't even know George Perez did anything for Solar at all.
He did that, and I guarantee it wasn't for U2 tickets.
Was it this one? Let's see.
So I got a couple more things. I don't want to take too much time because I know you guys got some stuff too. You could probably find it, but it's not on any cover. So
not on the cover. Okay, yeah.
It's not a cover. It was a promotional thing.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very difficult to find that image.
Yeah, I don't think it's popping up. Yeah, it's not something that's popping up for sure.
No, what it was both Solar 1, and then the version of Solar that was done by Warren Ellis and by Patrick Zurcher and all those guys. It was both of them kind of smashed into each other with a world in the middle was the image. And it was awesome image, very strong, but it was fleeting because we never saw any of those things actually come to fruition because all those things ended. Because the Ninjak one had V1 Ninjak versus V2 Ninjak. You found it.
I found the image, not the original. Yeah. So I don't know best way to. It's on eBay.
You sent it to me.
Oh, it's on eBay. Okay.
Private.
Yeah. I'm gonna send it to the Facebook group.
Okay.
So there were only 2 Valiant cardboard cutouts that were ever done in VH1. Okay. One was our Marines, and one was the Visitor. And the Visitor one was huge. It was like with the cape and all that. There you go, the Valiant. There's the Valiant Voyeurs. So
you just scroll down and you'll see all they show the inside images.
Yep, there you go. VH1 Ninjak, VH2 Ninjak. There's Turok. There it is.
This one?
Yep, that's a George Perez. Yep.
That's hilarious. I never knew.
Yep.
I don't remember Solar's nose being so protrude. It feels like on this angle.
Well, he's a picker, so I mean. And that was the Ashley Wood one, the Shadow Man one there earlier.
Oh, so you look into these and you see the little visuals in there. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like the little kaleidoscope things.
I remember. Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, I ended up getting a set of those sent to me, and for writing so many letters. I mean, the editors would send me a message and say, "We need a letter this month," and I'm like, "All right." Which is why I had like 27 letters printed in the books. It was pretty bad. They didn't get a lot of love and through the emails. So I wanted to showcase this little Our Marines original art that was used for the cardboard cutout, and cool little piece that I've had a long time. Like I said, there was only 2 cardboard cutouts that were done for VH1, and this is one of them. And then the Visitor, which was the Visitor really that good? I don't know. I mean, it ended up being Peter, which
spoiler.
Obvious. Spoiler.
Oh, yeah. I heard about that actually. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. So this is really something cool. This is
that's cool.
A Shadow Man 1 cover that is colored by hand that was done for Previews Comics.
Nice.
It's a little variation from the original but it was used when they were soliciting for all the trades and stuff like that. And it's hand colored. It's gorgeous. I've had this in my collection for well over 30 years.
Nice.
And it's just a special piece for me, and one that will be framed for sure. For show.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So if you're an Armorines fan, go ahead.
Now, one of the things about Valiant back then was the colors, and that's what really stood out to most of us. I think
JJ Jackson really set a bar, and I think that she even way back in the Nintendo Comics days that they set a bar, and you can always look at those books and see just the colors had to be amazing, and they worked, and it translated to the superhero stuff.
Well, and pausing right there, for those who don't know, Brian has an amazing Nintendo CGC collection of books, and that's kind of a whole nother little subset of Valiant collecting, right? The Nintendo, even the wrestling. Do you do the wrestling stuff too, or just the Nintendo?
I own all the wrestling stuff that they've done, the magazine size and the digest books.
Right.
I already have all those. I'm not really looking into getting those graded because they don't mean as much to me.
Okay.
But I'm only 2 away from, after tomorrow when I get a package, I'm 2 away from completing a graded set of every single published Nintendo comic book that they did, which is 62 of them. So
nice.
It's close to a 6-year journey that I've been working on that. So yeah, it's nuts.
It's quite a journey.
I see an awesome rarity right there to your left. The Cheezosaurus.
Cheezosaurus Rex, baby.
Is that Valiant too?
Yes, it is.
What? What is that? Was that when it first started, or was it like a?
No, this came out 92 actually. I mean, Unity was pretty much nearly done at this point.
It was a Torok Dinosaur Hunter spinoff.
Yeah, there you go.
One of the dinosaurs got sent to Cheezosaurus Rex.
I think there's 11 or 12 copies of this even graded. It's just a book that you don't see, especially in the wild. And so they did this, and then that they did the Spanish versions and the English versions of the what's like the pasta. It's like the O's or something like that. I can't even remember.
SpaghettiOs. Yeah.
Spaghetti. They did a Spaghetti-O comic book as well. A couple of those.
Yeah, there's a one where he's going down a roller coaster and the SpaghettiOs. And then there's a Cheezosaurus one where he's in a air balloon.
Yes. Those are tough to find. I mean, let's see. Here's a nice Time Walker cover that I own that Ramon Villalobos did. It's a 1 in 20 variant. And so he's a local artist for me in my area. And so when I saw this in his portfolio, I had to snap this bad boy up. It's just
a nice one.
It's just super nice. So it's a piece that is obviously framed because it was up. And then my wife surprised me with this for an anniversary present, which is a Miko Soivan Bloodshot page with K on the bed. I don't know if she just was channeling K or something in that moment, or I was like, all right, baby, it's our anniversary. Let's go. So
how long was Miko on Bloodshot for? Because he hasn't done much sequential since. He's always been now doing he's become like a cover artist.
He was on the book for a while.
Okay.
At least on and off for 2 years, I would think. Close to that.
A long time. Yeah.
But his style and his detail is just ridiculous. I mean, super good. I own a few pages of him, a couple from Harbinger Zero and a couple other things, and it's just nice. So this is one of the last things I'll show you. It's going to be
sick.
This is the Armorines Armor test sheet in pencil by Mike Leakey and Jim Calafieri, and this is the piece that they did with the wording and what each part meant on the suit of armor, and it was approved by Bob Layton right on over here with the star.
Wow. That's cool.
So just a cool piece, and I've had this for since 2003 when I bought it. So
wow,
long time.
$12. Let's.
you-
Wow, that's amazing.
Carl, you were showcasing Mirage page, and so I got one too by Bernard.
Oh, nice! I love those pages.
Yeah, it's a nice page. I ended up buying this from Ken Branch because Bernard's a little
He
art.
doesn't.
So
Yeah, he doesn't sell his Mirage art. So I think it's Ken that sells it. Yeah.
So I was very excited to get
Nice. That's
a
cool
piece. And I bought some pages from Ken when he was doing the book solo, and he was penciling it too right at the end before it got canceled. But nothing like the original. That kind of stuff. So I got
awesome.
one other cover I'll show you, which is an Armed and Dangerous cover by Bob Hall. And
cool. What a great design.
Great design. He was really channeling little Frank Miller in this Sin City style.
Nice.
And in many ways, it was. If you see these books in dollar bins, pick them up. They're really good. The art in it is so good. And a lot of the crime stuff they were doing was actually pretty great. I don't know about the Slider stuff. I was a Slider fan, and those books just kind of sucked to me. So, but anyway, there you go.
Super clean, man. Brian, thank you so much. We have about 5 minutes left. I mean, Brian, we're gonna have you come back for sure, because this one is too short. It's totally my fault, guys. I had another engagement that I signed up for. But Jason, why don't you do our part of the show and tell, and then I'll share a couple of pieces I just picked up as well, and then we'll wrap up the show.
All right. So I got this piece here recently. I reached out to a person on CAF who had this piece with the age-old, hey, if you ever sell it, keep me in mind. So I was able to negotiate a price. Now, this is, of course, the last scene, Solar versus Mother God.
Wow.
How it should have been before Shadow Man messed things up.
Yep.
Which I have that page too. But yeah, so this is actually the only panel that was printed. So, they were crossing images over through the books. And so like Rise Death, depending on what book you're looking at, it is actually original art as opposed to a stat. Okay. But yeah, so this one, which is probably the coolest of them, made the cut, and these did not. So that
man, you got to get Laughlin to sign that.
Yeah,
you got a Gonzalo Mayo signature on there, but
of course, Marcus
that's a beautiful
is
piece.
signed on to the Marvel TLDR session.
Cyclops can't get a break. And so we talked about last week about the Valiant being like a forerunner in gimmick covers.
Yeah.
Yep.
About a glass cover. This is
what
from
the heck?
This is from the Shadow Man run Colin Bunn did not that long ago. Glass. And this is a Jeff DeCal cover. I got Jeff to sign it right there.
Nice.
And then got Colin Bunn to sign it on the inside. For whatever reason, Colin didn't think that it would hold a glass. Jeff said he didn't know what he was talking about, so he just signed it on the thing. He said he's not an artist. I mean, what does he know?
So how is that attached? Is it like it's not on stapled anymore? It's just a slab.
It's basically glued onto the front cover, similar to the way a metal cover is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, those can't get graded that I know of, right?
Not anymore. Yeah, you'll find some old ones. You'll find some old ones that are graded, and especially like CBCS did some. But there's a Harada one. There's a Livewire one. There's several of them out there. Really dope Rye one. And then this one, which is not a rare book unless you see this on it.
Nice.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
Never was released. That's a very cool piece.
So, talking about the Valiant fans website. That's how I found that out. Was somebody mentioned something about selling some, and so I reached out to them and was able to pick it up before somebody snagged it off of eBay.
So, you have to get one of those. Those are great.
Which, if we, in the future, we can talk about the Valiant Validated Signature Series, the VVCSS stuff. So, But yeah, got some great stuff that's already in the mail. So looking forward to showing that off. But that's
Ooh,
all
I'm excited.
Yeah. One thing that we could do the next time I come on is I could bring in all of the board, the message board projects that were done over the years.
Oh, yes. Sean
I
told me
was-
about these penguins.
Oh, that Sean Chen actually sculpted. Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody
I have it here
was
somewhere. I
selling
ordered off eBay and it's in the box somewhere around here. So I should show that as well.
There is a lot of them. There's quite a few of them that were done.
Okay.
I
Wow.
have a couple of them still, including the Shadow Man one, which is awesome. I have to find it, but I have one, and it's the Armstrong one is probably my favorite, and that's the one you would want the best.
I would definitely want that one. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Because it fits that egg shape, that
Yes.
that Humpty
exactly.
Dumpty.
Armstrong's the best, man. I didn't get to catch up on like the older Archer and Armstrong books, but I should. How did they pick up for VH2? Were they popular or was it just
No.
like one of the titles?
It was
not off.
I liked it. I liked the way they done
They were
it.
fun for what they were.
Yeah.
But it was not the Archer and Armstrong or the Eternal Family that we were used to. They introduced sisters and all kinds of other characters that really didn't make a ton of sense. But they didn't come out monthly. Those were quarterly books. So you got them. They were thick. They were like 60 pages or 45 pages long, and they were thick. So they were super size. And the stories were great. I mean, they had great art in them. Stories were pretty good. But they just... they're just very disjointed with everything else that was going on. Not a lot of stuff in VH2 meshed together. There was not a lot of continuity at all.
Oh, you're talking about the VH2 stuff. Yeah, so the VH2 stuff was like way out there. Way out there. Now, were you talking about the new stuff, Carl, or were you talking about the VH2 stuff?
The VH2 stuff. The VH2 Archer and Armstrong, Eternal Warrior,
yeah,
like that
well,
one.
I was talking about the new stuff, like the newer stuff, like that they done.
Oh, the more recent stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna have to do a session on that because I'm definitely not caught up with that either. But I'll do my show and tell, and then we could kind of land the show.
Okay.
Let's see. All right. So here's my show and tell. I picked up a few pages. This is funny because obviously I have not posted this one yet, but I think Jason knew I grabbed it, which is a page from Torok 1. What was interesting was I was really torn between this page and another page, and I ended up getting this page, and then the other page, Bart didn't tell me, but he took it onto the Cap Live show, and then it ended up selling. And then recently, what was cool was I saw it pop up for sale.
No, you did get it. Okay.
Yeah, so it popped up for sale, but not only did I get it, what was kind of cool was, him and I started going back and forth, and I was like, hey, like I got this other page for this other price, and he's like, hey, but I paid whatever more for it. And then we ended up, kind of a long story short, is we found out we were bidding on the same thing.
Happens a lot.
Yes, and it was for a Travis Trey X-Men Wildcats page, and I had a certain budget. He didn't tell me his budget. He actually wouldn't tell me what he was bidding on. I just went forward and said, I'm bidding on this. What do you think? And he responded and says, looks like one of us is gonna spend a lot of money. And I was like, that's weird. I was like, well, what was your budget? He wouldn't tell me, so I threw my budget out there. And then he was like, well, I was like, you know what? How about this? If you sell me that Torok page, I'll back off. And he's like, I'll tell you what, if I win that page, I'll sell you the Torok page. And then so I stopped bidding. I saved him a ton of money because I think I would have gone crazy on that.
Yeah.
And in turn, he saved me some money and got me my other Torok page. So I'm really happy about it. But I want to ask you guys, why was there a little thing back here? Do you guys know why? A few of my Valiant books have that as well. They're like taped to the back as like photocopies. Do you know why?
Those were done. Those are the pencils before they're inked.
Oh, interesting.
So it's just it's a thing that the inker gets as a like a guide. I mean, that's just something that they added, and they stopped doing that after a while. But most of the pages I have, especially from Armorines and Califury stuff that I have, has all of that with it. So
yeah. Okay, then my third pickup, well, my second pickup really, because I only got that other Torok page, was this another Rye in the Future Force 9 page. So I basically grabbed this guy because I stayed in touch with the owner, and for some reason, him and I started talking about we started talking about the latest set of Fleer Marvel cards, and we got really into it. And then he started telling me how he's like totally addicted to it, and he's buying more packs. And then all of a sudden, like somehow, some way, I was like, "Hey, sell me that page so I could buy you more packs." And then he's like, "Yeah, maybe." And then we kind of went back and forth on pricing, whatever. And then one day, a week later, it was his birthday. So I was like, you know what? For your birthday, I'll buy it from you for the price you wanted. And then he sold it to me. So
Nice.
it was pretty funny. So it just happened. So I think I'm done. I think I'm done with Rye, like having the 2 pages, and then my Torok having those 2 pages. And then I'm ready to move on to finding
What's
more.
your next title?
I would want more Eternal Warrior pages. I don't have any. Like those are really rare. I don't feel like I see them around much.
I have a couple of Paul Glucey pages during his run, which was in the the book only went to 47, so I think it was in the mid 20s when he was doing the book. They were well, I bought them over 20 years ago, so they were relatively cheap to me.
$6.
You're right, you don't see a lot of pages anywhere.
Yeah, you don't see a lot anymore. So I'll probably be just on the try to be patient and try to wait for 1 or 2 more pages.
I got really lucky by doing the same thing with like Mike McCone and like some stuff like this. Magnus. This is like a Magnus splash page from issue 1, which in my opinion is cover worthy.
Wow, that's cool.
Gorgeous and detailed.
Really good.
And
is this VH2 Magnus then? VH2 Magnus? Or
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So Mike McCone and Mark McKenna did the first 6 issues of that book before he left and went to do I think Teen Titans for DC, and then he went to go do Exiles or something. Either way, it's that way. But I ended up buying about 60 pages of his run from those 6 issues, all in one big lump, and those are just gorgeous pages. I have almost every splash that was done for those 6 books, so it's that's something we'll show off the next time I'm ever on here. So.
Yeah, we're gonna have to regroup. I mean, I'm in New York Comic Con next week, so Jason, maybe we'll regroup in a couple weeks. And if that works for you, Brian, maybe have you jump on as well, and then we'll get maybe another personality on board and then get this going. But thank you everybody for tuning in today. Thank you, Brian. Jason is awesome. Super excited for the next time for us to do our more show and tell and. TLDR Valiant. I'm gonna get one of those Harada shirts. I don't know where I'm gonna find one, but I'm gonna find out. Good night, guys.
All right.
Adios.